You pointed out in another of your videos that if a deer is laying dead in the forest, there are wolf tracks next to it, and not far off, blood, deer blood, amongst the wolf vomit, that it is evidence that a wolf hunted and killed and ate at least part of that deer. Granted, I agree with you on that. By the same token, if I have a watch in my hand, it's not that by a mere coincidence all the iron in my body accumulated and formed a watch. In the same manner, if I see a motor in a field, it would be safe and obvious, as a matter of fact, to conclude that somebody dumped a motor in that field, or that a car broke down in that field. You cannot argue that the accumulation of metals on that field over the process of time evolved to have such a machine laying in the field. Would you conclude that? For the same reason, all the perfect functions in the universe are evidenced in a supreme being, which you may commit a fallacy by calling it a magical being. Magical beings are like what fairy tales are made of. That's probably where you're wrong. You're confusing magic with religion. Magic, well, to the esoterics, are something to be manipulated. I don't care what religion you're part of. A divinity is not something you manipulate. It's something that if you follow him, you follow him. If you don't, well, you don't. But you don't manipulate him trying to get on his good side. You don't kiss up to him or to her. You worship him, but you don't kiss up. Not the way you say. Now, going back to what I was telling you. Fish are perfectly adapted to their environment in the sea. The skeletons in birds are perfectly adapted, as are their feathers, to be lighter than air and be able to get flight. We in our bodies, our digestive juices are strong enough to corrode a car, yet it does nothing because there's a protective coating in our system that protects us against it. Provided, of course, we don't eat too many spicy things and burn off part of it and hence create heartburn. That's a whole different story. That's a cause and effect responsibility. The fact that all these are perfectly adapted is not evidence of evolution, because to call it so would be like saying, oh, this motor evolved from all the pieces of metal accumulating on it over a process of time. They are perfectly adapted because they were planned out by some kind of being. Don't tell me that atheism is about freedom to think for themselves. It is not. Were it so, you would not have launched the video you launched, to which I am responding. That is evidence you're not letting people think for themselves. I, on the other hand, as a religious person, am thinking for myself. I have been completely schooled in science, because before becoming devout, I should say, I was all into science. I was all into that evolution hogwash as well, until I started thinking for myself, not abiding by all that hogwash that certain so-called scientists were cramming down my throat, or cramming in my brain. You cannot say that atheism is about free thinking, when in a high school test I had to take, I had a multiple choice question that said the world, man was A, created by a supreme being, B, evolved from other species, and having to choose, if I were to choose my religious side, being marked wrong. That is proselytizing, that is indoctrinating. Atheism indoctrinates with all this irresponsible smear campaigns against religious people. Furthermore, there are a lot of people who are very scientific in mind, who based on science alone, not touching any religious basis, question evolution. Yet they are denied degrees by certain institutions just because they do not side with a professor's point of view of evolution. I don't call that letting people to think for themselves. I call that indoctrination. Look it up in the dictionary. Now, a common misconception that many people have is that there's no science in the Bible. Actually, Papa, are you okay? Okay. Actually, while the rest of Europe was believing in shooting stars as bad luck, the Book of Job talks about the Pleiades as something that happens year on year. The Book of Job hints at the existence of dinosaurs. Doesn't say dinosaurs directly, but it talks about aquatic dinosaurs. Don't tell me that there's no dogma in atheism. Evolution is a dogma devoid of any scientific principles. I'm willing to have a video-to-video debate on you. You give me your scientific evidence. I'll prove you how those so-called evidence do not prove evolution. But of course, I would do this leaving my religiosity aside and arguing just strictly science. And I'll show you. But for that, I must be sure that you're willing to know the truth and not stick to some dogmatic teachings about evolution. Most people, when I start debating science with them and start proving how evolution is wrong, they start resorting to the same straw man attacks that you were doing. Oh, you're a religious person. Of course you cannot believe in evolution because you do not know science. Please. Many of the as I mentioned earlier, many of the people who headed off science were religious people. Copernicus, Gregor Mendel, Louis Pasteur, Isaac Newton, Albert Einstein. Now, don't tell me an atheist is happy when he's proven wrong because of the very same thing I just told you. I've had debates with atheists way since I was an underclassman in my college years. 10 years ago, you would say, probably. And I've also had online debates with atheists such as yourself. I'm hoping you would prove me wrong in this and be the difference. But up to now, all the atheists I talk to, the moment I start touching science principles to them, they start questioning any scientific principles that I present them. Fine, go ahead and question them on true science. Don't question them on straw man, which is what all these atheists I have debated have said. So don't tell me about free thinking. Don't tell me that atheists are happy when they're proven wrong, because all the atheists I have spoken to have been irate when they have been proven wrong. Oh, sorry, I thought I had stopped recording, but it's still recording. Okay, let's continue. All the other atheists I have spoken to have become irate when they have been proven wrong, and since they're not free thinkers, they're sticking with the dogma. They start doing the strawman principles, as is to be expected from fanatics. Even the religious fanatics who so much rightfully attack. But that does not include all religious people. I'm hoping that just as not all religious